I suddenly woke up and noticed that I was the only one in the coach of the train. Looking around and straight down to my left, I could see through the gangway door a strange man in a long coat looking right at me and walking towards the coach that I was in. So one night I was waiting for the last train to arrive. It was just gone past midnight and I was on my way home from a night out from the bar with my friends. As usual, my friends always went home the opposite way from me, as I was the only one that lived further away from the bar. So while I was waiting for the train, I was just examining how many people were at the platform, as I always preferred at least a few people around, as it felt more safer than a dead lonely platform. So when the train finally arrived, I noticed even the train itself had a good amount of people on it. Don't get me wrong, I always was aware that there could be a drunken person on the night train or just a nuisance person, but it was better than being the only one inside the coaches. A few destinations in, I noticed that I started to feel really sleepy. I really tried to keep myself awake, but eventually I fell asleep. What felt like I'd been sleeping for hours, I suddenly woke up and noticed not only that I fell asleep, but that I was the only one in the coach of the train. Looking around and straight down to my left, I could see through the gangway door window that the other coach on the train looked like it was empty too, until I saw a strange man in a long coat walking in. He looked like he just came through the other gangway door and was making his way to the empty coach that was before mine. At that moment, I didn't really feel nothing of it, as I thought, at least I'm not the only one on this whole train by myself. But as I kept watching him, suddenly it was like we locked eyes together. He stood there staring at me through the gangway door window. Even though he was so far away, I could see and feel that his eyes were on me and that he wasn't going to stay in the coach that he was in. Without taking his eyes off me, he started walking towards the gangway door. At that moment, I started to feel slightly scared, as I didn't know what this man's intentions was. As he continued walking towards my coach, I stayed frozen in my seat, trying to not make it obvious that I knew what he was doing. But I kept watching him and hoping that the train would hurry up and reach the next stop, as I was hoping that the next stop would have people coming on. As he was getting closer to the gangway door on his side that connected to the coach I was on, he kept looking directly at me with this determined evil expression on his face. I could feel his wrong intentions piercing through me, and my spirit just didn't sit right at all. I started to feel panic, and knowing that it was a few seconds until the next station, I got up quickly towards the train door. I knew I wasn't going to come off the stop and wait for another train, as this was the last train to get back home. I was just hoping other people would be at the platform waiting to come onto the train. When the train finally stopped and the doors opened slowly, all I could see was darkness, and it was really quiet. So I peeked my head slightly out of the train door to see if anyone was on the platform, but it looked like no one was in sight. But as I was looking around, I looked towards my left and saw that the strange old man popped his head out of the door as well and was looking directly at me. I quickly looked away and looked back at him again, and he was still there looking at me, but this time he had this evil grin on his face, like he knew that I was scared and I was hoping for people to be at the next stop. He and I knew that I was truly on my own now. So without a split second, I quickly ran out the door as fast as I could and ran across the platform to get to the other coach of the train. I managed to get into the doors just seconds before the train door closed. As I was trying to gather myself and catch my breath, I looked towards the gangway door window and noticed now that the strange old man was now in the coach that I was previously in before. And now he was again looking at me and walking down towards the gangway door. Now I was truly freaking out as I didn't know what to do next. I was looking around the train thinking, should I press the emergency stop? Should I call the police on my mobile phone? Should I call my friends and see if they are still awake? But how can they help me? Should I bang on the train driver's door for help, as this was the coach that was attached to the driver's cabin? Feeling panic and anxious, I sat back down and just watched him. And I began praying in my head for protection and hoping that the next stop will come quick and that people would be on it. As soon as I finished praying in my head, the train stopped at the next station. When the doors opened, I heard chatter and laughter and footsteps coming in. A few people entered onto the train and onto the coach that I was on. I sighed with a sign of relief and thanked God. But whilst I was doing that, something caught my eyes, and out of the window I could see the strange old man looking at me. He was out of the train and standing on the platform, looking through the window and staring at me. As soon as the train door closed and started to move, he was grinning whilst watching me as the train left the station. At that moment, I felt this horrible dread come upon me for a few seconds, but I shaked it off and thought whatever he was planning or going to do to me, I thank God it didn't come to plan.